Get to know all your favorite VRChat DJs all in one place. This is VRCDJ Live.
Well, welcome on in, everybody, to a VRCDJ Live. Glad to have you back for yet another amazing episode. And fun enough that every time we do have a show here, it always seems like a sense of urgency to come on in, understand what we got cooking, understand what the DJs have kind of cooking. We're all cooking. We're all doing stuff here. We're all here for the community, and we're here for you. So welcome on in. My name is Rob Roman. I'll be your host today. And of course, for those people in chat, it is an interactable show. So if anybody has any questions concerning anything within our DJ community, whether it's if you're first starting off, or maybe you want to learn a little bit about how to create your own venue, or even some more side information on how to kind of get things going for your own DJ club, I mean, this is going to be the opportunity for you to kind of ask all those questions. And before we even get to all of our wonderful guests tonight and our club of tonight, I kind of want to take a moment and pay a little bit of reflection and homage to a member of our community who, as we have been hearing on social media, has currently passed away. Wolfie, again, a great DJ within our community, doing a lot of different events, touching a lot of lives too, and definitely going to be very missed. And I want everybody to feel comfortable to reach out if you choose to, again, paving the way within our communities. And we want to pay remembrance to him and the things that he has done. I've been reaching out to a lot of people throughout the day, kind of showcasing a lot of what Wolfie has done previously, spanning everywhere from drum and bass, hardcore, Frenchcore, a little bit of J-core, and a couple of last performances too at Subsystems, Hardbox, Obsex passing as well. That was kind of a really big deal a couple of months ago. And even Portal, the DJing at the Portal at MagFest 2024 obviously is kind of a really big deal, regardless if you think so or not, because while the MagFest is happening, being able to DJ within the Portal for all of the people that are there hanging out with you, the people in here, super important. So obviously we want to keep in a remembrance for Wolfie's friends and family during this very important time. And I want everybody to understand something, because my only kind of words of advice throughout this entire process, everybody has been posting some very wonderful memorable memorials on social media recently about our community and the people within our community. And make sure you guys are checking in with each other. We're in a space where we perform every day. We perform every week. Hell, our Fridays and Saturdays are always booming. We got lots of DJs coming into the scene, looking to be extremely passionate over the things that they do. And we keep forgetting that regardless of the constant performing schedule and how busy we tend to be, we always like to do it for our community, for our friends, for the people that support us. And it's even more difficult when we have moments in our lives where we have disconnections and we have gatekeeping, or maybe some other grievances or something. And or even drama. I know drama is another trigger word here in VRChat, but I want you guys to kind of take Wolfie's example of friendship and performance, and just be like surrounded by friends. And if you're having a moment and you're having a hard time with his passing, please don't be afraid to reach out to as many people as you can. Come see performances. Music's a very healing thing, and we don't want to forget that, As we continue to understand and find our own way of support throughout this time, obviously, please feel free to reach out to our team. Feel free to reach out to your friends. We also got word of a GoFundMe page to help with Wolfie's family, and for like any sort of burial, funeral costs. So if you'd like to contribute, our mod team will be able to put that up on in the chat, so you guys could have an understanding of all of that. So again, we're thinking a lot about our members of our community. We're thinking a lot about just our time in here, and the people that we meet. And I don't know if I could hear you. I know I saw your mouth flapping, but no. Okay. let me just double check something really quick so we make sure that we're on the same boat. Oh, okay. So again, definitely be close to your friends during this time. Feel free to post all of your favorite Wolfie interactions. I know for me, it's been a real nice experience over the night to see all of their posts on YouTube and social media as well. So again, a very easygoing person, and actually got to talk with Merles recently about it and how he had a very good interaction with Wolfie at ShelterCon this year, which again is just such a pleasurable thing to hear about. But of course, it's VRCDJ Live. Welcome on in. Glad to have you here. And of course, we have to continue on with the program and kind of introduce our guests. It always seems like a very uncomfortable time when it comes to these sort of events. But, I feel like within our community that we do have to kind of pay homage to it and get a good understanding. Yes. Okay. So I want to introduce our guests. We have a relatively new club featuring all kinds of genre performances from techno to house to drum and bass and trance. The worlds feature lots of unique experiences, which we're definitely going to be getting to today, featuring special effects, DMX lighting. I believe it's ARC audio. Okay. And particle effects, and recently featured on an event with Rafflegator, which is a very well-known content creator within our community. Please welcome from Club LA, Italian Dogs, and Cccuro. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know recently I was just sitting here, I'm just like, oh man, I'm going to mess it up. I know I am, but I'm glad to have you guys. Welcome into the program. Glad to have you in.
Of course, great to be here. Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Now,
thanks for having us.
I kind of wanted to feed into it because everybody knows Raffle, everybody. So like, I wanted to kind of, I know that was something that you kind of put into the form recently, that was kind of a big deal. So tell us a little bit about how that went down.
Yeah, so that was towards the beginning of Club LA. But what ended up happening was one of my friends, he used to be one of the content creators with Rafflegator in his group. I don't watch Rafflegator, so I'm not entirely sure of what he calls his group. But he actually had reached out to me one day and was like, "Hey, Rafflegator is wanting to do kind of like a DJ duel stream where he has DJs kind of perform their sets." 15, 20, 30-minute sets, little short sets, and have like between the Twitch audience and then the people that are in the server as well, or in the instance as well, have them vote on who is the best and kind of create like a bracket system. And so he had come to me and was like, "Hey, Italian, like I love the OG world. Do you mind if I have Rob use it?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah." I whitelisted him into the link room. And originally, funny enough, I was watching the stream, and originally it didn't get used. They ended up choosing the old Tube VR world, where it was just kind of like that triangle world. And that actually, something happened where they couldn't get the links working or something like that. And so at this point, I stopped watching the stream and went in to do, my daily life pretty much. And lo and behold, I started to watch the VOD later, a couple hours later, and I was like scrolling through, and I was like, "Oh, look at that! There's my world." And so I started watching it, and apparently, yeah, he was having issues, and then this was essentially the backup world, and so everyone was having a great time in there, and yeah, it was a crazy happenstance of how it happened.
Now, I know that Rafflegator definitely is a really big content creator in VRChat. Honestly, too, for those people that don't know, the guy ends up getting about like 2,500 viewers at any given time on the VRChat category. Does he have any interest in DJing? Because you were saying DJ battles. Like, I would only assume that he wants to pit other DJs against each other to see who, in his eyes, could be a potential win. Did he share any interest of how he wanted to DJ?
To be honest, I don't think it went as much as how he planned. Because even though the DJs were still up on stage and they were still doing their own sets and everything, it seemed like it was a typical Ralphagator stream where he was kind of more focused on his, like, I'll call them minions, his little minions that run around and kind of interact with himself, than he was on the actual DJs. And it wasn't until the end of the set where the DJs were really even mentioned. But I can't imagine him getting into the DJing scene. Honestly, it'd be great. It would be wonderful if he did. It would bring a lot of attention to the scene. But yeah, I don't know if he would.
It always seems very spontaneous with that guy. I feel like, he does want to reach out and he is passionate about the things that he does want to do. But again, it would be, I don't know. It always seems like one of those scenarios. It's just like for example, when we found out that Paris Hilton wanted to DJ and we're like, ooh. Do you have experience with that? Because I only know about the Hilton Empire. But that's super cool though, because you would think you wouldn't really think too much about any of those larger creators looking to even kind of get in to just our community of DJs and worlds, but the worlds are very available for a lot of people to use. So the fact that he kind of came in, I don't want to even say graced, his presence was graced in within Club LA, but I would only assume that he found out that your venues are really awesome. So so obviously hell, put that on every resume, I guess. So
Amen.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, it is VRC DJ Live. For those people that are joining us in the chat, feel free to drop any questions for Italian Dogs and Cccuro here on the show. And of course, we're going to be talking a lot about Worlds today. I know it's kind of one of your big passionate things as far as Club LA is concerned. And of course, I can't also say too, a very little bias, the fact that I enjoy a lot of the Club LA Worlds. But kind of how did that all kind of come to fruition? How did you even think, oh, I'm going to be the one to kind of create these worlds, or even an interest?
So funny enough, it really happened by accident. So the long story short is, back when I had first started VRChat, and I started getting not involved in the DJing scene, but I would have like my own little private events for, a couple of my friends would show up. And I don't DJ. I don't have any idea how to DJ. The most I've ever DJ'd was on my iPad, I have DJ, the spell DJAY, which is just like two little virtual decks, and you get to like mix a couple of songs together, and it was cool while it lasted, but nothing professional. But no, what ended up happening though was around that time, when I was doing all these private events, it was mostly just I would throw on a YouTube link. It was I had a couple of hour sets that I'd throw on, and I would just pretend to DJ. And now, obviously, it was obvious that I wasn't DJing because there's a YouTube video going on in the background. But from there, I started getting involved with. At the time, there was a club called Silly Raccoons, and I was friends with the owner and a couple of the staff members from there, and so I started hanging out with them a little bit more often. And so from there, what ended up happening was I heard that they were wanting to have live DJs. And at this time, I started to befriend a couple of DJs that were in VR. And so I just told them, I was like, hey, like, I'd love to be a host for you guys. I can create, my own world. I'll have you guys host it there. And I'll bring in the DJs. They'll have a DJ deck and all that. And what ended up happening was halfway through building this world, they unfortunately got back to me and they were like, hey, we're doing a collab. It's going to be at someone else's world now. And I don't want to name names, but the world is not a DJing world. It's a drinking world. It's an entertainment world, and you are very separated from the DJ for if you're playing any of the games. And so the DJs that I had brought on, they had all pretty much complained by the end of the night. They were like, there's no one was watching us. We didn't get to see anyone. It felt like an empty instance pretty much. And I understood where their concerns were coming from. And so after that, I kept wanting to build up the world some more and actually create a purpose-built venue. And so this was the OG world. This is the mansion with the pool in the backyard. And at the time and around this time I started becoming closer to Refuge and becoming friends with a lot of their DJs. And so they were actually our sister club to begin with, where all of our DJs at the time were Refuge DJs. I had their logo in the world every time I had an event with them and everything. And that's pretty much how we kind of got started. It was essentially out of spite of the DJs hated the other world that we were using, and so I pretty much formed Club LA because of that.
I feel like that's kind of everything, though. I mean, really. I mean, if you want something to happen, you kind of have to do it yourself. I mean, that's part usual. Everybody knows that. But in this particular case, you know, like I'm so glad that you decided to do that and not just sat around and been a grump, because like you have a lot of grumpy people in here, and they'll come into a popular instance and they'll just be like, I can't vibe with this. I don't know why I'm here, but I'm here, and you know, I know why they're here, because there's a lot of people here and they want to hang out with their friends. But at the same time, too, it's not exactly what they want. So obviously, kudos, because again, you found an instance where it's just like, I'm looking to make something for me. I'm looking to make something for the community. I'm looking to kind of revolutionize how a lot of the things are kind of working, and it clearly has shown based on the size and impact that you have put together for Club LA, which is fantastic. So obviously, kudos to you for putting together such an amazing community of people, as well as kind of showcasing a lot of upcoming talent. Before we get over to Cccuro, I want to know, and I think a lot of people want to know, Club LA. How did that even begin? How did you even want it to be called Club LA?
So it never was intended to be called Club LA. At the time, I couldn't figure out a name. I had a couple of placeholders, but at the time I was creating the groups, I was creating the Discord, and so I had to think of something. And the world that the prefab that the mansion was made from was the Los Angeles backdrop. It was supposed to be a mansion in LA. And so as a placeholder, I was like, okay, well, I'll just call it Club LA and I'll think of something later. And pretty much from there, it just kind of stuck. I started having a couple of debuting events just to kind of, you know, get a feel for it, and, you know, make the stage better, make better lighting, and things like that before I actually like officially launched the club. But by then, people had known that it was Club LA, and so it just kind of stuck around from there, pretty much.
Now, not to, I would assume a lot of people have visited the mansion, being able to see that venue, which again, very cool backdrop, very cool pool. We're going to get to more about how that was developed a little bit later on in the show. But now that you've kind of established yourself as Club LA, was it ever a thought to kind of think about the future venues being somewhat similar to California, or just the Los Angeles downtown area, or maybe even the glamour of having a mansion party outside of the regular mansion party?
So, yes and no. The second world that I made was the Lofts, and that kind of had more of a city feel, like if you were actually in the downtown area instead of like up in the hills, which is what the OG map is based out of. You know, you're on top of a skyscraper, you have a perfect view of the city, you have a bunch of buildings and everything like that. But then after that, the main focus was always, I wanted realism. I wanted it for two things. I wanted it to feel like you were actually there, and I wanted it to feel as if, and I wanted like high quality textures and everything like that. I didn't want something that, I didn't care for the mystical side of it, where, you know, you can jump from building to building, and, you know, if you jump off a building, you're falling to the ground in real life. But I wanted it to feel like it could be a place in real life. And so that was pretty much the big thing with going into all of my worlds that I've made, is every one of them feels as though it could be a real place. Now, revisiting the LA place, I would be totally down to, if I came up with a new idea to more revisit the Los Angeles backdrop and maybe make a different world associated with it. However, I think moving forward, I know Kuro and I were talking about this for a little bit. We're definitely going to be focusing more on just realism and bringing experiences into VR. And what I mean by experiences is kind of like when you would go to shelter, where you'd be surrounded by this white area. You'd have this little orb that would spawn that you could hear the audio, and then it would tell like a story of like you're spawning into you're like this cryogenic freezer, and you're in this closet area, and then you have to like walk into the street and everything. And that's what pretty much all of the future worlds are going to be looking like moving forward.
I know it's kind of, again, it's another one of those kind of futuristic dealios of being like, all right, who's going to make the next latest greatest something, or when will there be another venue that's going to, you know, set the bar even higher than the most sought out venues and stuff like that. And I think that's what makes VRChat such a unique place is you have a lot of it's not even a matter of creative people. You have a lot of storytellers in here, and those storytellers really want to, like, they have an entire vision on how they want to handle their biz. And the other side of it is, like, you know, it's a free game, you know, like, you know, finding the funding for it would be great, you know, be like, oh, I could take my story and then, you know, sell it or something, or make it into a movie or something like that. But obviously too, you need the funding for that too. But so that's just it too. It's like, it's so unique to be able to see these people come in and just people like you trying to reimagine how we handle our biz in here. And it's unique, it's different. And, you know, despite the fact that everybody wants the convenience of change every freaking week, you know, it's nice to see the involvement in the whole process. We're gonna take a quick moment to Cccuro over here, and I wrote down. I want to make sure that I wrote say this. I said art direction and graphic designer. Would that be too far fetched, or?
No. I mean, I want to say, like, I'm mostly in charge of how we, like, project, like, Club LA, like, to the public aside from the worlds directly. Because, like, I feel like when you see a poster for like an event, right, and you see the poster for it, I feel like that really needs to convey like the vibe of like what the event is like actually going to be. Like, you wouldn't like look at a poster that's like, oh, super pink and cutesy, and then you get there and it's like a blood rave. You know what I mean? So I think, like, from where we started and then to now, I think I've tried really hard to like direct like the image of the club in a way that like better suits the events that we actually have. You know what I mean? And like what kind of music that you can expect. Like, if you think D&B, it's like, I feel like most people will think like a certain type of art or like a certain vibe or something. So like I control a lot of that. And then me and Italian also work really closely. Like he said before about having like really high quality textures and stuff. So I've done a lot of like the custom textures for the worlds in VR. So like for CLA Records, which is the record shop you spawn in, there's a taxi, whatever. I'm like, it's a lot cooler than it sounds, for sure. But yeah, I did all like the custom like awnings and stuff like that. So like if there's anything like that that needs to be done for any of the worlds, I'm usually the one who does that. I mean, I don't think you've ever needed a custom one that I didn't do. So
no, you have.
It's all very interesting because of the fact that we talk with a lot of the club owners, we talk with the DJs, VRCDJLIVE, but a lot of the other people in the background when they're making either the posters or even texture work. And I think you were saying how Cccuro made a little bit of your texture work for your avatar too. So like that really helps out with the whole process too. But you know, do you find it very easy to kind of take your experience here and implement it into like a more professional role, or do you try to find a way to intertwine it with the things that you normally do as a career?
No, what I do for like work and stuff is entirely unrelated to like art and like what I do. Like, I'm like an artist as like a hobby, like lifelong artist. Like, I usually like draw like anime and stuff like that. But it was really like when like really the only kind of like graphics I used to do, if you're familiar with like Gaia Online and like online role playing and stuff like that, like in forums, a lot of like my original like graphic design experience came from like making like the custom like profiles that you use like to post your like your role play replies and stuff like that, working very closely with HTML and the like. But before, like, it was like that was kind of my main experience. And then when Italian was like, oh hey, I'm starting on my own club, I kind of just like offered like offhand. I was like, oh hey, like if you need someone to do like the posters, because when he was initially coming up with the idea for CLA, he was like we met like via like a different friend, but we hung out at Refuge a lot, and so we have taken a lot of direction from Refuge and like how they do their posters for every single event that they do. And I was like, oh yeah, if you want to do something like that, I'll volunteer. I'll do the posters for you. And then he was like, oh yeah, for sure. Like, absolutely. I'll reach out and I'll get back to you. And then that's kind of just how it started. And now here we are like 2 years later. 3 years? 2 or 3 years?
Yeah.
2 years. Oh my God.
2 years coming up very soon.
I mean, it's super unique too because of the fact, and as a DJ myself, like whenever I see someone create a poster, I always sit there and be like, I wonder how they do it. You guys are magicians to me because like you can literally think up a thing and then maybe like 6 hours later you're like, how's this? And then at the same time you're like, no, this is wrong, and I'm just sitting there like, why'd you do that? It was amazing.
No, I've literally done that to Italian multiple times where like he'll bug me about a poster and I'm like, okay. And I'll send it to him and I'm like, I'll at him and then he'll finally see it and he'll be like, oh, that looks great. And I'm like, wait a second. And then I just delete it so he can't like save it anymore. I just let him like, I have to change something 1 second. And I get back to him a couple hours later. I'm like, okay, it's better now. And it's like a barely noticeable difference or something. But I'm like, just feels so much better knowing that I'm happy with it 100% now instead of being like, whatever,
I'm sure you've had plenty of times and experiences where you're just like, you put out a piece and you're just like, oh, I probably should have done so much more with this.
Oh, no, I look back a lot because like I said, basically like CLA was like the start of like my graphic design journey and stuff. And I've learned a lot over like the 2 years that I've been doing these posters like almost weekly. This past February actually is like the longest we've taken off for a CLA event. 1 whole month. I didn't have to make a single poster. Vacation.
But then you probably came back and you were like, oh, how do I do this again, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, because then he told me, he was like, oh, we have to do 4 posters this month.
Oh, no.
Like, God, I was like, wow, okay. But no, like my graphic design journey has come like a really long way. So like when I look back on all my old posters, like the original like grand opening one, I look at it and I cringe like so badly. I'm like, ugh.
It's all progress though. Like you're making progress.
Yeah, it's really like inspiring for myself to like look at the original one and then see what I do now, and I'm like, wow, this is just so much better. And I think, oh my God.
Don't forget the original pop-up poster too that you did.
Okay, that one was just funny, haha.
It was a meme on purpose. It had what was it? Word art?
Comic. Yeah, it was Comic Sans with like the Windows 98 like word art from like
word art. Yes.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, but there's a whole skill to that too. I mean, listen, if you're gonna meme, you got to meme hard, and you got to also meme professionally hard. So
yeah,
no doubt. But obviously, yeah, your role within Club LA is super important, and I think your type of representation for the skills that you do kind of reflect a lot of people's opinions too. There's a lot of different clubs and a lot of different artists out there that do want to get a little bit more involved within this sort of stuff. So having your opinions on the show obviously is a really big key importance. I know it's not VRC artwork live, but or something like that. But at the same time, I kind of want to make a series like that because it's super. I can't do that. I just make the music. So definitely very glad to have you here on board too. And as we're kind of continuing on with the program, some of the first things that I'd love to get to know a little bit about, and we never have enough time. You have an event with a bunch of DJs, and you have to run it, and then at the same time, you can't talk to anybody. So this is the time to kind of sit here and chit chat and banter and do all sorts of stuff with it. But I think a lot of people that frequent Club LA kind of want to get to know Italian Dogs a little bit more. So tell us a little bit about the first couple of weeks of VRChat for you. What even got you interested into VRChat to begin with? For someone that hadn't made an avatar before, you're here making worlds. What interested you to come in here?
So it kind of goes back a long time. So I had the Vive headset, the original Vive headset, when it first came out in, I think it was like 2017 or something like that. But my experience with VR back in the day was a gimmick thing. You had your walk the plank simulator, you had your roller coaster simulator, and other than that, there was really nothing else out there. I hadn't heard about VRChat at this time, and so for me, I just put my headset back in the box, put my tracker, or not my trackers, my base stations, everything back into the box, and threw that into a closet for years on years. And it wasn't until I was finishing up college that I started doing live streaming. I started to stream on Twitch. And so the more and more I streamed on Twitch and the more that I was watching other Twitch streamers, like for me, I was really big with the Mizkif community, especially his offline community. And so I started becoming closer friends with them, and we would talk on Discord, play games together. This was back when poker was a big thing on Twitch, so we'd be playing poker in like private lobbies and things like that. And the long story short is, one of the offliners that I was friends with, his girlfriend at the time, her and I used to play League of Legends. And she, like, we were talking, and I had mentioned that I had a VR headset, and she was like, "Oh my God, I have this friend in VRChat that I would love to introduce you to. You got to get your headset out, set that up and everything." And so one day I, threw my headset on, she introduced me to her friend, and from there I just kind of started to branch out to a bunch of other mutual friends. And yeah, it was a wild ride though in the beginning, because her friends and her friends' friends, they were all dancers. So me being this total like innocent person, the very first question I can get is like, "Oh, have you ever been danced on before? Do you know what ERPing is?" And I'm like, "What?"
To say
And
it's
then
not
like
one of those types of shows, but we all have to go through those, I guess. Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, I was mind blown in the beginning. But so hanging out with them, my involvement was mostly with dance communities. I'd go to all their dance events, and I'd hang out with that crowd. I didn't know about the DJing community at this time, and so it was mostly just kind of me in private instances, just hanging out with my friends. And then from there, as I was meeting more and more people, I ended up hearing about Shelter, and that was pretty much what started my my DJing scene. Was I fell in love with how everything was, the visuals, the music, the vibes. Like, I still have recordings of me at Shelter, and all you see is just the camera bouncing up and down, because it's just a first person view, and I'm just going with the flow. But yeah, that's pretty much how I pretty much got started. It was just kind of a bunch of life events went really right to get to have me be where I'm at now.
And well, what about you, Cccuro? How did that, again, was it, I would assume that you don't DJ, but you also
No.
not yet, at
No,
least.
I don't.
Yeah.
I've been in VR for about 2.5 years, maybe. Well, actually, like 3 years now. Like, coming up a little after 3 years. For me, it was, I had just seen like all of like the funny videos of like VRChat and stuff, and I wanted to see like what it was all about and stuff. So I was like a deskie for a couple weeks, and I had moved in with my uncle for a while I was in college, and he had a Quest 2, and so I was a Questie for a while, like swapping between desktop and Questie and stuff, and met a bunch of like my friends who I'm still friends with like to this day, like 3 years later, we've met in real life and stuff like that. And yeah, it actually took me quite a while also to like even discover that like there were like raves in VR. But yeah, it was you see raves first, and then you get involved in like the dance community. So for me, it was raves and just like going to Club Orion public instances and stuff like that, and just meeting the right people at Club Orion who then invite you, and they're like, "Oh, hey, like I'm going to a rave this weekend. Do you want to come with? Like, I'll send you an invite when I get there," and that kind of stuff. So, just a lot of drinking, a lot of drinking nights to start off with. But for me, I was just genuinely curious after seeing like all of the clips on YouTube, and I got my chance, I took it, and here we are.
One
3 years later.
one of the things that I haven't really readily asked too many people, because I think we haven't really experienced anything like this before in the past several years, but just that idea of being able to go to a Club Orion in a public, and meeting people for the very first time, and either melding with them or finding interest with them, and then them right away being like, "Why don't you come with us to various other clubs. Back in the day, let's just say 2018, 2019, you hear something like that. Again, there's still a lot of people in VR chat that think that everybody is untrustworthy. It's like, oh, I'm meeting someone on the internet and they're just like, want to go to more, you want to cyber, do all this weird stuff. But like now that we're kind of parted away from all of that, did that truly, what were you feeling during that time of being able to go to a public instance? Because I think, again, while a lot of people want to explore some more public instances and be able to meet new people, it's still very, it's unnerving. You got great anxiety because you never know who you're going to either meld with or even find an opportunity to talk with someone.
Yeah, I mean, going to Publix now is definitely a much different experience than it was a couple of years ago. Because, like, back then, like, there weren't as many, like, kids and, like, trolls and stuff, like, just, like, tromping around in, like, public instances and stuff. But I think I've gotten lucky along with I think I have a pretty good judge of character. So, like, I'll meet someone, like, through a friend or something, and I just go off, like, the instant vibes. I'm like, they seem really cool. I think, if they want to invite me to this other world, like, what's the harm? It's a video game. It's not, I mean, like, yeah, definitely, like, stranger danger, but, like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, my PC crashes. Okay, worse things have happened. I'm not gonna lose sleep over following, like, some random person to an instance and then them being creepy. If someone's creepy, you just take off your headset, like, or block them, you know what I mean? But I would say, like, it's definitely different and more difficult now to, like, go to people, because I agree, like what you said, it's, like, very separated. Like, being in, like, a lot of the complaints about VRChat and, like, trying to get into communities is, like, it's so difficult. You have to know all the right people and stuff. It's, like, it's so true. Like, it's so hard to, like, go to a public instance and, like, find someone who's, like, willing to take you to, like, these insider communities where we're all, like, actually just, like, normal people and not, like, weirdos or trolls or something like that.
And you make a pretty valid point too. Again, like one of the things that I learned even last year alone. Actually, I learned it from the Europeans. When the Europeans are up in here and they're DJing, they're like having an event and they're hanging out and they're being friendly and whatever. They're the ones that invite me and they're just like, let's go and do some stuff. And it's kind of like, you go to you go to a show and then some group finds you and it takes your hand and just kind of yoinks you and you're just like, well, here we go. Like you. Yeah. So, but I feel like even though there is some sort of camaraderie with that, like it again, like you were saying, it's a game. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to. You're supposed to find these people, and if you even if you don't, they're gonna find you. I'm very sure of that. But that kind of leads into my next question, which is like, again, how did you end up getting your involvement with Club LA? Was it just kind of did it just kind of roll with the dice based off the friends that you had?
Yeah, so one of my best friends, Game Grip, is a dancer, a good friend of mine. He actually met Italian first, and then he brought Italian into, like, our friend group and was like, hey, this is my good friend Italian. Like, he's new to VR. Like, let's all be nice to him, and he's a cool guy. And, then we, like, just sort of, like, became friends because we were just hanging out in a lot of, like, the same circles and stuff. And then this is always a surprise to people, but when I say I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like an artist and, like, I draw stuff, everyone's like, oh my god, you do art? Like, that's so crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm it's like, it's not that I, like, broadcast it, I tell everybody that I'm an artist and stuff, but it was just like we just hung out because we had a mutual friend. And then when he just started doing CLA, I was like, I volunteer, because I wanted to get into it. I wanted to be a part of the club scene, like the DJ club scene. I didn't, it's fun being a bystander and everything, but, like, I think being involved in, like, the process of a club is really nice. And then also, like, when there's a new club, you can, like, your foot is like, firmly planted inside the house already. There's no secret code to, I have to talk to the right people to get into the inner circle of this club to actually, do stuff for them. It was very, like, Italian, I want to participate. And he was like, great.
Just as simple as that, I'm sure. Because I don't know if we've seen Italian draw. Have you tried to make posters?
I haven't tried ever making a poster. I'm lucky that she's been here since the beginning, and she, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't want to leave.
Mm.
But no, when it comes to drawing, when it comes to drawing, I'm dyslexic when it comes to stuff like that. I can do stick figures. That's pretty much it. I did
Mhm.
actually, and I mean, we're going back like years and years and years. I did take some art classes back in like elementary school and middle school. And back then, I
Elementary
was
school doesn't count, bro. Like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
so
no, I
far
know, I
ago.
know.
Those
Bro, it was
crayons,
almost 30 years
buddy. Yeah.
ago. Like, come
No,
on.
no. What I was going to allude to was back then, what I always liked to draw was very like pencil artwork, so it was all black and white art. And pretty even to today, that's very much what I like to do still. So I am no artist in any sense of the means, and especially when it comes to like color matching and figuring out what should go where and things like that, I am totally not the man to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Sometimes he has like sometimes I'll do a poster and he's like, "What if you did like this?" And I'm like, "No." I just like veto it completely because I'm like, he's like, "What if you just like made this part like bigger and then this part bigger?" And I'm like, "Okay, but like the vision, like there's a vision going on, and what you're doing is like it's very, I hate to say it, Italian. It's very like small business owner who knows nothing about art and is like, yeah, my niece in high school could, she could whip this up on like on the computer in like 10 minutes, like
Oh
that's kind
boy.
of, no, it's not that bad, but it's a little bit like that. Yeah.
And Untaken, yeah, no, I'm terrible at art.
That's fair. You leave it to the professionals, as they would probably say. But
Hmm.
as we're kind of carrying into the program, and I'm kind of a little curious too, especially for someone who openly says that they don't want to DJ. I would assume that there's some point in time that you kind of thought a little bit about it, maybe started looking up how much consoles cost, or even having a musical library. But between the both of you, I'm kind of interested to see what kind of experience that you've had within IRL clubbing or partying, or because again, all of your experiences feed into this program. So I think it's super important to kind of be like, what were some things that you've wanted to do? What are some things that you see that you proactively are like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, I want to be a part of it? But obviously being in VR chat's a little bit easier than spending all the money to go out to a club. But we'll start with Italian, because obviously a lot of your mindset when building these venues has a specific purpose based off of the things that you either are wanting to be a part of or have had experience in.
So for me, funny enough, I have never had the will to DJ. It's amazing what what everyone in the community is capable of. Uh, I have not heard one bad person DJ. Every single person I've met is so severely talented. It's insane. But as far as when it comes to me, I'm I like music. I love music, but I'm I know where my skills are, and I don't have the time to put myself towards learning how to DJ. So I've never really wanted to go down that path. But as far as my experiences though in the rave scene and everything like that, funny enough, they're actually kind of limited. So I was going to go, and this is going back to, I believe it was 2021. Life is Beautiful in Vegas. I was going to go to it, booked my tickets, booked the hotel, was going to go with a bunch of my friends, and then I was dumb, waited to the last minute to book airfare.
Ooh.
And
Oh.
the airfare from Philly to Vegas was 800 and something dollars.
Mm.
And that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I ended up backing out of the entire thing. I ate the cost of the ticket because I couldn't get a refund for that. But I let my friends keep the room, all the restaurant reservations and everything. They went ahead with that. But yeah, for me it was like a $600 ticket that I just kind of ate the cost of, because for me it was like a 3-day weekend for almost $1,500. It was hard to justify. Like I could spend my money doing a lot more other things for that. And so unfortunately I haven't gotten the chance to go back to a festival yet. But for my other experiences though, for me it started out with Aerosmith, funny enough. It was never a rave to begin with. Aerosmith was my very first concert that I went to. One of my friends' dads got tickets from his boss or something, and I got to be included in that. But then it went over to fast forward over to me in university, Alice in Wonderland, before she got popular in the States. I was able to go see her twice over at Echo Stage in DC. And that was pretty much kind of what set the tone of this is my scene. This is what I love. I love being surrounded by a bunch of people. I love the heavy bass music, the partying, the drinking, and just the whole vibe of it. And then of course, around my area, there's I've been to a couple other events, and that's when I got involved in just like more and more like getting into like not getting involved, just kind of like wanting to be a part of the scene a little more and more. So I think in total I've only been to maybe 3 rave events, which really isn't a lot, especially compared to a lot of other people in VRChat, where they're like, "Oh yeah, I've been to this festival, this festival, this festival. This is my 10th festival this since I've been starting," and I'm just sitting here like I'm a baby when it comes to all this.
I was gonna say, is it a little intimidating for you because you hear about all these events and you wish you can go to it, but at the same time you're like, oh, man, that's a lot of money and involvement and time and.
So, not as much anymore. For me, I'm not concerned as much as of the money aspect anymore. It's mostly just I like I like what I like. And for me, if I like, let's say I go to a festival, let's say like Ultra Miami, there might be, let's say, I know there's a lot more that I like that usually goes to Ultra, but let's say there's only 3 people that I recognize and that I actually want to go to. For me, it's a hard justify to go to an entire festival and listen to people that I've never heard of, or I might not actually like their music, just to hear 3 people. For me, I'd rather, maybe spend $100 and go to someone's concert for 2 hours or an hour and a half, than spend, $1,000 for 3 days or something like that. So I definitely do want to go to a concert, or a festival rather. I've always wanted to go to Tomorrowland. That has always been like, an over-encompassing goal of mine is all the trailers I've seen and the after party videos that I've seen from that festival has like always been a mind blown to me. It's always been crazy as to, what they're able to put on. But as far as wanting to go to a music festival, it's not really up there in my list of things I want to do. But again, given the opportunity, I definitely would hop on the bandwagon.
And also like having a whole group of people to go to as well. I know recently I was, I know I keep talking about it, but it was such an amazing experience, I will say. Managed to go to Liquidity in Amsterdam last year, and there was at least 60 of us VR chatters there, and we took up like 3 plots of land, and we had tons of tents and stuff. And I just felt like the odd Americans sitting there, and they're all like, "Oh, let's drink," and I'm just sitting there like, what am I supposed to be learning from this? I understand you guys really like to drink, but but again, you don't want to just show up and just be like, I spent $500 on this ticket. Well, I really wish I didn't want to be here right now. I could have watched it on my TV or something. But I feel you on that, obviously. But and Cccuro, again, what kind of experiences that you had that kind of drew you into the rave scene here?
So again, a little bit of nostalgia. Nightcore is really kind of like the beginning of like me getting into like EDM, like electronic like music, like rave music as like a whole, because it's like the high pitches, like the fast pace and stuff. And then eventually in high school I discovered like Skrillex, which is like it feels like a little embarrassing now because like I don't know, it's just I associate it so heavily with high school, and high school is embarrassing.
I was gonna
think.
say, like, what's worse, knowing that you started off with Skrillex the way he looked, comparable to he got rid of his hair and his glasses, and you're like, who the hell are you?
Probably just the fact that it was Skrillex, because like when I look back on it, I'm like, I don't think the music was bad, but I think like as I've gotten more involved with like rave music or like EDM in general, it's like my tastes have definitely changed, and I don't want to say like matured, but like they have definitely changed. But yeah, like I like for DJing, like I played around a little bit with like GarageBand in like middle school and high school, and I do like go on SoundCloud a lot and like find like the bits of like mixes and stuff and like the songs, and I'm like, oh, I could play around with it, but then I'm like, yeah, but again, it's kind of like DJing itself is not like a priority for me. Like it's not a skill that I'm like so passionate about that I'm like, oh, I want to learn it. You know, like with all my free time and energy, I'm like, I want to go like graphic design, that kind of way. But otherwise, in terms of like other experiences and stuff, like I was a like just like a normal like nightclub person in my early 20s, like 18 to like 22. I was very like nightclub, let's go like every other weekend and listen to the music and that kind of stuff. But the thing is where I'm from the Midwest. Nightclubs, like they fall into like two categories, maybe three, and it's like you get your like cool gay club where everyone is like very friendly, and then you have like this is a little mean to say it like this, but I still like the straight clubs where it's very like you get into like the normal, you know, the guys are there to like flirt and like buy girls drinks and like hopes of some things. And I've been to like seedier locations where it's like in a basement venue and like people are smoking like weed and cigarettes, and it's like this is not legal, but the vibe is immaculate. You know what I mean? I've also gone to like other like nightclubs, like where was San Diego. I was like, where was TwitchCon? I went to TwitchCon a few years ago. But yeah, there's a lot of nightclubs in San Diego I've been to as well that have like a lot of like the same like underground like venues and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I haven't been to any festivals or anything. I'd like to, but I feel like I agree a lot with Italian on the whole, like it's hard to like I would rather spend the money to go and see like a single artist that I really enjoy, or go and attend a club like where they're going to be playing at for that night, rather than spend thousands of dollars on like a festival where I know like three people, and then I'm not sure if it's going to feel like worth it if I don't like any of the other music that's playing, you know.
And also a really nice opportunity in VRChat, the fact that we have festivals in here. Like it's so much easier to come in here, spend the additional money on a headset or whether you're on desktop or not, but being able to just come in here for the weekend and, maybe you want to go take a nap. That's fine. Go take a nap. Or maybe you are hungry. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you want to go play some games while you're listening to music. You can't bring you can put your Stream Deck or your Steam Deck with you into the venue and just start sitting there playing video games while you're listening to music. But that's kind of how it just operates in here. But of course, this is VRCDJ Live. We're sitting here with Club LA and Italian Dogs, and I keep messing up the name. I keep saying it is Cccuro. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking of like curry, and I'm just trying to piece it together.
I get it a lot.
Occasionally I have the Worcester dialect thing going on, so like you'll hear that occasionally from me. But Italian Dogs, when we were starting the stream today, I did say relatively new club, and it's not meant to be anything negative or anything, but obviously you've been in the scene for a couple of years now, running different events, obviously having a really massive following with people coming to said events or interested in things that going on in your Discord. But the fact that you have all of these amazing successes, how has it been spanning for you in the past couple of years since you even began creating Club LA?
So it's genuinely been a wild ride. In the beginning, of course, with the help of Refuge, we were maxing out all of our instances that we were having. Of course, when we ended up going our separate ways, we had to fight for ourselves pretty much, and maintain our numbers and everything. But no, it's been a wonderful ride the entire way. Even now, our numbers are definitely up there, especially in recent times since Liquid Labs has been released. We easily will push 30, 40 people on average, and get anywhere up to like 70, 75 people in a night, depending on just either who's DJing or if we're collabing with someone. But yeah, it's been definitely a wild ride for the entire experience.
Now, I know originally when we were kind of visiting what type of genres you can experience at Club LA, and just as we've said it earlier, that at any given time, depending on the night, you'll be featuring a specific genre, or maybe have a list of multi-genre DJs where you have different vibes that go on throughout the evening, depending on the night, depending on the event, depending on what you got going on. But being kind of labeled within that multi-genre like ecosphere, How has it really been shaping up for you compared to some of the other clubs that have a specific genre boundary?
Honestly, I think it's wonderful. The fact that we aren't a genre-specific club helps us dramatically when it comes to collaborating with other people or bringing on different DJs, and especially when it comes to the DJs. One of the things that I still pride myself on today is we are, unfortunately, one of the few clubs that allows people who have no past experience DJing. They could be brand new to the scene. They could maybe have like one simple deck or a simulated deck or something like that, and they want to get their foot in the door. And as long as they can either have like for us, they can either have a recording of a past set, or if they don't, we have open decks virtually every single night that we have an event. So I always encourage people like, hey, like if you don't have a something that I can see and prove that you at least know what you're doing and can do something live, come out, send me your link during your open deck. I'll be more than happy to throw it on, and I'll sit there and listen to you. And, that'll be your, trial, like I'll call it. You get to perform in front of an audience. How big that audience is after hours depends. But you get to perform in front of an audience, and then after that, I add you to the DJ role, and you're more than welcome to sign up for any events after that. And unfortunately, a lot of clubs don't do that. They kind of want to see your repertoire and make sure that you have 1+ years of experience, or that you've DJ'd at other clubs before, and it kind of creates a bottleneck as to who can get involved and who can't. You can't bring anyone new that doesn't know anything at that time. And so being an open genre club has definitely helped us with that. And plus, for us, like when I create new worlds and everything like that, each world definitely has its own vibe. So, like for example, you have CLA Records, which is a very open street. It feels like you're in New York City. It's based on New York City in the West Village, or sorry, the West Village. You have a couple of games outside, but it's a small, quote unquote, it's a large map, but it's a small indoor venue inside the world. And from there, it's more of like a house music kind of vibe. But then you get to like the warehouse, and that's more of like your UKG, your DNB, more bass heavy style music. And then you get to like Liquid Labs, and that's more of like your liquid music, like liquid DNB, liquid bass, and things like that. And so, yeah, definitely being open genre is definitely something that is definitely a pro for us compared to if we were just kind of like stick with like DNB and call it a day from there.
Now, kind of going back to how you were saying, did you want to add to that? Yeah, just kind of like secretly put up your hand.
Yeah,
up there.
I was like,
no,
I don't know how to interject.
No, that's perfect. You should be doing that, because at the same time, nobody could be like, "Excuse me, teacher," but at the same time, like, this is the best way. Yeah, I don't want you to be sitting there like, "Oh, I should have said something."
Yeah. No, I also think that like the fact that we're not, like you said, like a genre boundary, it makes it really fun to do like theme nights and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, instead of getting the one genre every time, or like getting like multiple genres every night, doing like a theme night just feels like a lot more special of an opportunity, where it's like, oh, hey, because we do have a ton of like new people, we get a lot of questies, because a lot of our worlds are also quest compatible, which is always really nice. It also like allows for like those people to like find out what genre it is, because I think a lot of people who get into VR raves first, instead of going to like them in real life, it's just like, wow, I like what's going on right now, but I have no clue what this is, But like I said, I think the fact that there's no like box that we're in, it makes like theme nights like super fun to just feel like, okay, for one night, we're doing this one thing, and you guys can come, and it's gonna be awesome. So like, yeah,
it's super unique too, just because like, again, there are a lot of clubs out there that hyper focus in on a specific like underground vibe or genre, or we do have a lot of the fur ravers, and they have their own thing kind of going on too, which is very exciting. but being able to open up your club and open up your experiences to those people that are either too hesitant to go there or may not understand the music right away. You know, at least if you end up going to one of those hyper fixated genres, the ones that are just like, well, we're just going to do this. You know, it could be overwhelming if you're sitting there for 5 hours and it's kind of an imbalance between, do I like the music or do I like my friends? You know, am I here for my friends and I just kind of tune out the music and put on some lo-fi or something, or am I actually going to be there to kind of understand what's going on? And I kind of want to kind of throw the ball back in your court on this, because we did have Bert 60 Hertz on the program a couple of months ago, talking about said multi-genre clubs instances and the shortage of hardcore. And so I kind of wanted your opinion on that, based on, like, again, if you were going to do the booking, how you kind of set up those multi-genres. You do set them up over based on a theming. But where do you see hardcore kind of fitting in to that kind of the building blocks of a multi-genre night?
So when it comes to hardcore, yeah, I would agree with them. I don't really hear a lot of clubs playing more of the hardcore genres. When it comes to me, though, if I know someone is hardcore, I will either find other people that play a similar genre to that, to what they can play, or I will postpone them and put them onto an event once I find other people that can play and kind of complement them as well. Just because I don't want someone that, you know, can play, like, let's say, techno and then, you know, dubstep and then nightcore, all in the same one, just because. And I have done that before, accidentally, towards the beginning, and it's a very, very stark change. You will get, you know, everyone's vibing, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait, what the hell is this, like, that's playing now? But yeah, when it comes to having that kind of open genre, we're always fine with anyone playing anything that they'd like, especially because I'm familiar enough with enough of our DJs that I get the vibe of what everyone plays. And especially once someone comes in and says, like, oh, I play this unique genre, I'll be like, I remember that. Like, I'll remember that. So that way, you know, if you do decide to sign up, I will find someone that can complement you and put them either before or after, and, like, tell them, like, hey, like, wean in from going from this genre to kind of maybe going towards, like, this genre. Like, one person that I can name off the top of my head, Flexus, he does that very, very well. He'll find out who's playing before, who's playing after, and he'll, you know, his version of what he plays is essentially going from person A to person C. And he's very good at transitioning genres like that. But yeah, generally when it comes to the open genre, it definitely does involve a lot of planning when it comes to figuring out, you know, who can complement one another.
And understanding your type of vibe too for Club LA, as you were kind of explaining that, you know, bringing people in who genuinely like everything and can kind of vibe with that specific thing that they're listening to. But I also know that there is a social aspect in there as well. And for those people that don't proactively go to the clubs and socialize just like a regular socialized club, you know, I don't say that the audio isn't the most prioritizing thing when you're sitting in there having a good time, but it adds on top of the vibe. It's like having ice cream. They have the ice cream social. Wow,
but that's a memory.
Oh my gosh, it's a funny joke, but but that's just it too. It's just, again, you have the music complementing whatever you got cooking, whatever you got going on. Think of it as the toppings on top of your sundae. You know, you're going to sprinkle a little bit of everything, and even though as a child you do want all the toppings, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to taste good when you have all the toppings on top of each other. But having a good order would be a good time. Maybe we are into ice cream here. I'm not entirely sure about that, but feeding into the whole idea of, as you were saying, allowing people to come in for open decks. You know, it's kind of one of those taboo topics that I think within our community, we genuinely have a hard time bringing up, because, again, it's just a matter of trust. It's a matter of understanding of who can DJ, comparable to someone who just got their decks literally yesterday, and they think they're ready to go, comparable to what it would look like or sound like when they do go up there to perform and stuff like that. But so let's just say the past year, how has that been kind of working out for you, for people that have found Club LA, who really have been wanting to showcase a lot of their works and a lot of their things? What have you been finding as far as like research goes with the type of stylings that they're going to learn about or perform, comparable to what something, again, you want to see?
Yeah, so honestly, it's been great. Ever since we did that in the beginning, the amount of people that we've met, and the friends that we've become with, it has been absolutely amazing. Um, I mean, I know, if I remember correctly, I know Twilo, I think, was one of them. That Club LA was where he got his start. I know Cccuro was where he got his start in VR chat. Um, and there's a couple of others, I can't remember their names off the top of my head, that have moved on to like playing at like Sanctum and Refuge and a bunch of other higher end clubs than ours. Um, and but yeah, it's been honestly wonderful. What I've noticed a lot of the times is they will they either they know how to play and they are just new to the experience and they already have their like default genre that they like to play,
Oh,
or
or I was gonna say like IRL DJs who need to just find the right people to do DJing in VR. Like we've had a
that
couple of
too.
those people too where like they're like DJs in real life, like even if it's just like, like for family and like for weddings and like at like little local events. And then they're like, oh yeah, like I have like a whole thing. Like I post like mixes on YouTube and then they like come to VR and they just like need like that in to the community to like actually be like, oh yeah, I've DJ'd here and people really liked it. Like we've had a couple of like that kind of thing too, instead of just like new to DJing in general.
Yeah, and even there's even larger names. And this is going back a while. Avengers is another group that they unfortunately they weren't as much of a club as they were just a group that brought real life DJs into the VR scene. And so you had like, I remember back in the day they ended up doing their own little festival, and they had some people that like they were amazing DJ. I still listen to their music on Spotify to this day, but they at the time like they never got into they didn't know about anything about VR chat or gaming or really anything. Like I remember one of the people, they had to ship a laptop to because he didn't have anything to
Mm.
play on. But yeah, but like I was gonna say though, like one of the either these new DJs, they either already do DJ IRL and they have their genre that they like playing, or they want to get into it and they don't really know much about it, and they tend to choose either techno or house. That's like the what I guess I'll call like the safe genres. It's easy enough to learn and enough people know about it where you can ask a lot of DJs and they're more than willing to help you out.
So you've been finding a lot of people coming to a lot of those types of events, thinking that they're going to be able to sign up for open decks. I know that was kind of the part two of the question of over the past year. Have you been seeing a lot more of that happening?
Um, a lot more of people wanting to sign up for open decks. Is
Yeah,
that what you're
because
asking?
one of the things that I'm taking away from Club LA, despite the fact that again it's a multi-genre thing, so again you can come in at any given time and listen to all sorts of different whatever's kind of cooking, whatever's going on at the night. But Club LA also provides a very unique experience for new DJs that want to come in, as well as the IRL DJs we'll get to in a moment. It's kind of a big thing, and I think a lot of people continue to forget about that process too. But just the fact that I feel like if you were to find a really nice venue that you can perform the stuff that you enjoy without prejudice, Club LA would be the place. So through the past year, have you been finding a lot more people that want to do open decks come to Club LA because they know that that would be a pretty safe place for them to start?
Definitely, definitely. There's definitely been nights where we will actually have too many open deckers. And we keep it short. Typically, I'll make it 45-minute sets instead of a full hour. There has been a couple of times where we've had so many people that I've had to cut it back to 30 minutes. Not too rare. A lot of the times when it happens, I just kind of have like a cutoff of like, once my trackers start to die, then that's
That's
pretty
kind of
much it.
it.
And yeah, and because like for me, like I get 6 hours, so that's 4 hours of an event, and then 2 hours of hanging out and talking and just kind of chilling and vibing with everyone. But when it comes to a lot of the times, we do actually get enough open deckers where they'll actually like I have to put a stop on like hey, like we're way overbooked, like if you want, if there's a, if me or Kuro or Ropai or any of my other staff, McWick, are around or anything like that, they're more than happy if I leave for them to put in our links, or to put in their links, and if they want to stick around. But yeah, a lot of the times, they don't usually stick around once they hear like, yeah, you can open deck, but it'll be, 3-4 hours from now. Because for them, that's, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. So.
Kind of feel
Yeah,
like.
like
Go ahead.
oh, sorry. I just wanted to tag on one thing. Yeah, like once they hear there, it's like, oh, well, the next time that I have available is at 3 a.m. and that's in like an hour and a half or like 2 hours. By the time it's like usually the response, because I've stayed late after Italian leaves a lot of the time because he has to go to bed or like he'll have to like leave the event early, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll just be there, and I hang out until I get bored, basically. But yeah, like typically what happens is like they'll hear like it's gonna be like a wait, and then they'll leave like the world, and then like in an hour they come back and they're like, hey, is that spot still open 20 minutes from now? And I'm like, yep, it is. And then, like that kind of thing. Well, they'll leave maybe to like go find like another place to DJ, or just to like hang out with their friends or something, but they'll like leave and then they'll come back later in the night because they still want to. They're still interested, but it's like I wasn't sure if I'd still be on right now, or for whatever reasons, but like it does, like they do leave sometimes and then they circle back. They don't always just like lose interest like immediately.
I mean, who would have thought that this would have been a second job, like trying to get people to come in and perform. And at the same time, you genuinely want to hear them, and you genuinely want to, add them to the roster, figure out, maybe give them good advice, or you take them in, give them a hug or something. But I feel like Club LA just needs to wear that kind of as a badge of honor, just because like I feel there aren't too many clubs that I know of currently that are actively providing that avenue for those beginner DJs, or even maybe someone does want to do a quick pop up in front of people. And honestly too, as you kind of alluded to earlier about the IRL DJs, I've been talking to a lot of IRL DJs that are interested in VR chat, but at the same time, I don't think they know what they're getting themselves into quite yet, besides the fact of what they've known how to DJ. But at the same time too, man, oh man, is it humbling as a regular DJ who performs at clubs and stuff to come into a whole new world and DJ in front of people that they have never seen before, and try to test their craft against people that have absolutely no idea what they're going to perform. And that it's scary, it's enlightening, and I think it's something that I think a lot of us need to continue to recognize, the fact that things are scary, but man, oh man, they change you when you go in there and you start messing around, and providing what you do. And again, being able to be in a venue. And not only too, we're going to kind of slide into the next topic too of the mansion, because I'm not saying that it's scary, but I'm just saying, like, if you were to actively be in a mansion, right? First of all, you got to know that the people that live there got some money, and they have a pool outside with a big old massive MTV Cribs style looking whatever, an open door format patio. You could jump from the ceiling onto the pool. It's a little frightening, because you go up there for the first time and you perform. You have to check your wits at the door. When it comes to this sort of thing. So I kind of want to take this time to kind of dive into the Club LA repertoire of worlds that you've created, and get a better understanding for those people at home that don't know. Obviously, with the mansion, I feel like a lot of people have at least visited the mansion at least once. But even going into the latest, greatest, what you were talking about with Liquid Lab.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we haven't used the OG map, the mansion, in a long, long time. Mostly just because I have so many worlds that because I'm a little bit of an have an addiction when it comes to world creating. I'll get an idea, I'll start working on it, and then I'll get another idea. I'll put this one on pause, and then I'll go start working on this new one. So for me, I think 12 worlds, 15 worlds uploaded to my account, 12 of which are rave worlds, and I think 9 of them are actually 6 or 9 are public. But yeah, the biggest thing though for me is especially going from worlds that are, you know, you're either like heavily a drinking world or you're heavily a DJing world. I feel like Club LA is a very, very good medium where we don't promote drinking. You know, I'm more than happy to have you drink. You know, I'm going to go around saying cheers to you and everything, but I don't have like I don't put like the card games like shitty and things like that on all my worlds because I don't have, you know, um that one game where you stand on a line and then you say like, you know, never have I
Oh,
ever.
true.
Yeah,
So never have I ever.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's literally called Never Have I Ever. Yeah.
it was on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, so like I've never wanted to really have that many kind of games, especially like even at the OG world. Shitty is literally in the basement, separated away from the DJing area. But I'll have things like beer pong and spin the bottle in the DJing area. But definitely one of the biggest things is I wanted people to know is, you know, we are a social club, but we are a DJ first club. You are here for the DJ. You're here to listen to that, and that was especially prevalent with the OG world, the mansion, where if you ever noticed as a DJ, where the way that it's laid out is you are able to see every single room on the first floor and every single room on the second floor. You're able to see all the way into the front yard. So you are able to see everyone that's in the map except for when they're in the basement, of course.
But
And
there's a deck in the basement too. So if people are just all hanging out in
that's
the basement,
in Cozy LA, not in.
no. Oh, no, there is one in the kitchen. It's just not as fancy looking as the one in Cozy LA. There's not? I swear there
Mm-mm.
was. Okay,
No,
well,
I
you know,
never
we're
put
gonna
it in
we're
there.
gonna test this after this. We're gonna go to the OG world and we're gonna fight about it.
Quickly going on to Unity right now to change that
Take
up.
it off.
I see one person in chat being like, "I'm there right now," and you're a liar.
No. Shows what I know, I guess.
Wow, no, I'm joking. But no, and another thing that's very prevalent is that I wanted to make people like aware that they're in that they're in a there for the DJ is if you go to the OG world, it's a subconscious thing, but if you notice, there is a video screen everywhere that you can possibly look. So if you are looking like directly 180 degrees away from the DJ stage, there's a TV there that's displaying what their visuals are. If you're upstairs, there's one upstairs. If you're looking, you know, west of where the DJ is playing, there's a TV screen over there. If you're looking east, there's another screen. So it's a even in the basement, regardless of where you are, I have 2 or 3 video screens in the basement.
Yeah,
So
it's two.
thank you. So it's definitely something that I've always pride myself on is we're not a drinking club. I don't want to bring that kind of ambiance to it. You know, I don't want to have to deal with the whole rowdiness and everything like that. And we've been privileged where we don't really get that whole rowdiness club. There even has been DJs where I've barred from playing at Club LA either because of they either bring drama to the club or they just kind of get too inebriated and it hurts their performance. And it's unfortunate because, you know, some of these DJs are great DJs, but at the end of the day, you know, it's our name that's on the line. So if you bring a bad experience to us, then in the long run it hurts us. So that's definitely something that I've definitely prided myself on a lot, and that goes with like all of my worlds too, though. That they're all very, very DJ focused. Like there are obviously games there because I want people to stay, I want people to be entertained. However, there's really not many. Like even at CLA Records, the original version of that, which, you know, granted that world's been being worked on for over a year, had no games in it. It wasn't until recently when I had my first event there a couple of months ago, I think 6 months ago, something like that, that I put in games there because I knew people, you know, are naturally gonna want to play games. They're going to want to play pool. They're going to want to play beer pong. Like, I can't keep people away from that. I don't want to keep people away from that. Even Liquid Labs, when I first made the map, there were no games. I was originally going to turn one of the ice caves down into a lounge area where there was like a couple lounge tables, maybe put Shitty there, like the card game. And then when we had one of our events, it was Cccuro that mentioned that she was like, hey, like, you should put some games in here. Like it would be a much better vibe, and threw them in there, and our numbers almost doubled pretty much for in that world. But yeah, definitely that's the biggest thing is we're not a drinking club. We're not ever going to promote drinking or drug use or anything like that, minus the drug, the froggy drug that you can click on in that's hidden in a lot of my worlds that puts on like an LSD type effect. But
Yeah, I'd say like when we've talked a lot about like Club LA's like vibe, every once in a while I'll need like help being like, bro, like what is like CLA, like what's like the theme, like what's the vibe that we go for? And like I feel like we've always settled on like bougie house party. Like rich people were like up in like the expensive parts of LA, like super bougie, right? Where you can do stuff, but it's like you're socializing. You're there to socialize and to like listen to music, right? Because there's always music and like that kind of stuff, but like bougie house party where it's like people aren't getting shit faced, but like, we're all adults.
I think it's a good way to keep everything in check too, especially because as we continue to get a better understanding of what our community is and wants to showcase itself as, comparable to some of the feedback that we get from YouTube videos, the clickbait YouTube videos saying how rough some avenues, some hallways, some whatevers here in VRChat can be. And then as those people are again trying to showcase the VRChat community as the DJ community as one that we all can get together, enjoy the music, enjoy socializing, where it doesn't have to be so full of alcohol. That is a breath of fresh air, and it's also kind of the hand in hand of drink your water. Nobody wants to drink your water, or maybe you forget to drink your water, but it's kind of refreshing on that too. But it's a nice also takeaway to just that, as you guys say, it's not even a matter of who can drink the most, or getting messed up on a Friday night or whatever. And even again, like the thing about the drug toad thing that you're talking about, like there's so many. I put it in the same category as like nobody wants to know what it's like to crash a car, so that's why you go to like an expo, or you go to what was it called back the Dare program. They have like the Dare program, and then they like strap you into like a simulation. And then they have that slope thing,
like
or
the
just
drunk,
like, or the
glasses.
drunk glasses and stuff like that. Like, thankfully that there is experiences out there for you to understand what it could be like. It may be cool. I don't know. I mean, it looking into the sun is cool too, but permanent damage, I don't know. I don't know if I want to be able to be a part of all that. But
I like my eyes.
yeah, I want to keep my eyes, no doubt. But at the same time, too, like it's not even a matter of pushing that agenda. And the way I'm looking at a lot of the drinking that's happening in our economy and in our communities, well, mostly our communities, is just the fact that you do have a lot of people in here that either don't go to college, or they've wanted to experience that socially, but they can't because of where they live, or I would only assume the price of alcohol nowadays. Well, especially this month, but at the same time too, like there are some social cues that you do take from your friends, and again, for someone who rushed in college, that the social aspect of it is very demanding when it comes to picking your friends and what you want to do. But comparable to some of the other music worlds that you could be going to, the venue worlds in here, it's okay to be a part of. You could do that, but at the same time too, it's not frowned upon, but it's not encouraged. And again, I feel like the term of the night is unique. It's unique. It's a breath of fresh air, comparable to the average. Oh, are you drinking? If you're not drinking, then whatever. And it's not like we're trying to put you 6 feet deep as far as your drinking is concerned. But at the same time, like, we have to raise awareness to this. And so I guess the next big question I wanted to ask you guys, and I know Italian's gonna roll his eyes a little bit, but like we were kind of talking about kind of the average venues based on the type of things that they have in there. You know, again, the pool tables and the spin the bottle and beer pong and stuff like that. Obviously it enhances some experiences, but do you guys see another way of experiencing venues without it? Or do you think people are doing it too much?
I don't think people are doing it too much. You definitely need certain things in worlds to make them entertaining, to some degree. Because like, for example, the warehouse has 0 games in it, so it's all, and especially like when it comes to the lighting, I know a lot of world creators, when it comes to making venues and things like that, they rely on the default, VRSL lighting, where you slap a couple things down, make them audio linked, and call it a day. And I'm guilty of that. In the beginning, that's all Club LA was. The OG world, the mansion, was literally just VRSL lighting, and that was it. I made it look as good as I could, but one of the biggest things that I never liked was that look where it looked, I didn't know about global illumination at the time, and I didn't want to spend, $250 on VRSL's global illumination. But I wanted again, I like realism. So I know a lot of, unless you're going to some large festival, or you're not going to see fireworks going off, you're not going to see you're not going to have these like large lighting displays and things like that. You're going to mostly focus on either lasers, blinders, or just other kind of flashing lights. And so definitely there are aspects that people need to pick up the pace a little bit and learn new things, especially when it comes to games. I know there's not, as many programmers as there are in this game. There's not a lot of choices when it comes to games, at least for like prefab games. So you have what? You have bowling, you have Never Have I Ever, pool, uh, beer pong, and spin the bottle, and shitty. Other than that, you really don't get much of a choice. So it is very, robotic kind of like, oh, this world has this, this, this. This world also has this, 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 and this. So bringing a unique experience is definitely something that's challenging, but it's something that needs to happen, especially as time goes on and more people start making worlds, which is leading into me making worlds. That's one of the things that I'm always trying to do, is every world that I create, I try to learn something new. So, for example, the OG Club LA was, I never touched Unity before. That was my very first, that was a learning curve. That was a really big learning curve. But then going from there, the lofts, I made the world, and then I gave it to Halo, which, shout out to Halo. He's an amazing creator, and DJ. But I wanted, at the time, I didn't know what people really wanted. And so I knew his clubs, they always brought in, or his worlds rather, they always brought in a bunch of people. There was always, a max instance. And so at the time, I, was like, hey, like, here's my world, like, make it clubby. And he added area lit lighting. And then I pretty much reverse engineered that to figure out how it worked. And ever since that, I've added area lit lighting to all of my worlds. And which, on a side note, area lit's much better than VR. What is it called? LT CGI or something like that. Mostly for the sole reason of LTGI relies on your avatar having the proper shaders and options enabled to allow for lighting to actually reflect off of your avatar. Whereas area lit, it does it automatically. You set up a projector in the world, and any lights that either come off of the screen or come off of the lighting, anything like that, it gets reflected directly onto the avatar. And again, it just adds to that extra layer of realism. However, I'm not gonna like harp on LTGI because it really is great. It's a one button push, you're done. You slap it down, you have your video player, you set your light sources, and you just press, boom, like you just press one button and it links everything together and it just works. It really is great with that. Whereas Aerialit is very much a learning curve. But yeah, but like every world that I have, I try to learn something new. So like CLA Records, I learned how to do particle screens. The warehouse, I learned how to do 3D scans. So like all the concrete and the rusty pillars that go up into the ceiling, they're all 3D scans. They're not like textured materials or anything like that, where they have a height map attached to it. If you look, get close to it, it's all polygoned. However, it's optimized. It's very, very much optimized. Where I even have the same version as in the Quest version, and Questies don't complain about it ever. But yeah, so like that's another thing, is people really need to learn how to optimize their worlds. That is definitely something that you can make the coolest looking world and you can make the worst looking world, but if you don't know optimization, everyone's going to complain about it. But yeah, it's everything I want to do is I want to continuously get better and better and better at my skills, and always learn anything I can that's new.
Now, coming from both of you too, especially when it comes to the art stylings of either putting stuff into worlds or just the poster work or anything that you got going on, how meticulous does it get to continue to take like, let's just say you have a texture on something and you're looking to revamp it or change it up to make it look a specific way? Is it a long or longer process that I think a lot of us originally think it is, or could it be something as simple as kind of just scribbling over something to change something really fast?
I think because I feel like if we had one like main world that had a specific vibe, it'd be a lot easier. But like I would say like we have like with each new world, the process like starts over. So it's like, okay, so what's the vibe for this world? Like there have been times where like Italian's like, oh, I want to create a new world, and like this is what I want it to be based off of this place. And then it's like a back and forth process of like, okay, well, like for CLA Records as an example, like Italian was like, oh, I love this, like what do you think? I'm thinking like a record store, because I saw like a picture on Pinterest or something, and I'm like, okay, where is this record store located? Because, and he's like, I'm thinking, like, he'll show it to me and he'll be like, I'm thinking like New York. This is supposed to channel this. It's like, before it actually comes into like where I have to like get involved and like draw something, it's a lot of us like going back and forth and just being like really like putting into like words and like concrete thoughts of like what is the aesthetic, like what is the vibe of the world that we want to project, So with CLA Records, it's like a seedy place in New York, it's like a dark, city street at night and a kind of shady neighborhood. So it's like the CLA Records like sign is like weathered and like old. It's not like a brand new, oh, we just opened up. It's like this has been here for a while, And then there's also custom posters on some of like the other like shop windows where it's like I think we did like a pharmacy, but like we came up with like, yeah, it was like a clinic, like a hospital or something, and we like had to come up with like a CLA themed like pharmacy. I was like, what are we gonna call this? And then making, like the small details of like, okay, this is the number, or like this is the name that, like you call, or, like the flavor text and stuff. It's a lot of back and forth before we even get to the actual process. And then usually the worlds have a texture, and then it's like just like the technical like skills of like, okay, now I have to just completely get rid of these words, but still make it look good and not have to just like meticulously color pick and stuff like that. And then, covering it up, then adding the flavor text and going back and forth with Italian of like, okay, well, what do you think of this? Like, does this look good before I like start continuing? It's like a lot of like work back and forth for like 2 days, and then work or longer if there's like no rush. It's like, okay, I'm here now. What do we think? Let's make a collab, and then more work. And then finally, like, we end up with a project where he slaps it in the world and we're like, that looks great, But the actual work itself is very, very small, in my opinion. It's just a lot of like
Just a
the
regular
mental work, like
communication,
the
mental work, stuff like that.
yeah, like the creative work, like the mental, the skills, physical skills, usually very small, but then like actually just coming up with what we want is, it's a process every time.
Yeah, I can only imagine, because from what we've all known, like obviously world creation does take a very long time, and there is a process comparable to the amount of people that you have as staff and the people that are voluntary that want to help out with it. We don't get paid in here; we just kind of do things because it's a passion project. But understanding that and understanding, especially, I could see it getting really pressured to make the latest greatest. Obviously it takes some time because like you get an idea or somebody whispers it in your ear and then you're just like, oh man, and then you start feverishly working on it to the point
Oh,
where you
yeah.
have to keep pushing it very sooner than later, of course.
Yeah,
um
recently, like we had that exact same thing happen. Like we were, like going back and forth on like a new world like experience that we're working on. Like, and then he was like looking at all the other things and he's like, "Oh, I'd love this. I need to make this one of our world." And I'm like, "Okay, but I mean, it's cool, but like this is what this vibe gives." And then him going through the list and he just like we start at one point and then like while we're beginning the process of this one point, it goes through like 8 different phases of Italian being like, I want this. Actually, no, what about this? Through this. And then I'm like,
yeah, I was gonna say, did you
I'm like,
guys
yeah,
do you
man.
guys normally have the Simpsons did it moment where you're just like, you have an idea, you think of something, or maybe you've seen something but you don't remember where it is until you remember, and then you try to work on that thing, but then someone calls out in your bluff saying Simpsons did it, Simpsons did it. You know what I'm talking about?
Um, I do
Yes.
know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know if we've ever
Mm,
had that happen before.
I don't think I don't think like an outside party has said it to us. It's more of like me and Italian will be working on something, and then I'm like, isn't this exactly like associated
Mm,
other thing? Like we're all say it. I'm like really good with like association and stuff. So I'll be like, oh yeah, like this is. I'm like, wait, isn't this literally just this other thing, but like a little bit different? And it's like, oh shit. But like, no, there's never been like a third party who like noticed or said anything, and then was like,
Hmm.
gotcha.
So this is VRCDJ Live. Welcome in everybody that is in our chat today, and we're sitting here with Club Olé, Italian Dogs, and Cccuro. And I probably always keep butchering the name. I apologize,
It's
but
okay.
this is how I put it together. But it is a live program, and we're sitting here and we're talking a lot about DJ stuff. Obviously, VRC DJ Live. So if anybody has any questions in chat, feel free to drop off any of your pressing questions, whether or not you want to learn about being a DJ or club management or even making the clubs. And I know earlier this week I was talking with Italian about things that he might not like in the community that he wishes that would kind of pass on by. I know I asked you, I was like, what about some of the things that you may enjoy that people have been doing? And we also kind of started talking about a specific trend that people have been kind of bringing up that I actually had to do a little bit of research on, that you did tell me a little bit
yep.
about, that people are starting to get enamored with. So please tell us about what that's all about.
Yes, Frutiger Aero. Yeah. If I guess for anyone that doesn't know what it is, imagine the early 2000s, like I want to say 2000 to like 2006. That era where everything was really round, plastics were all clear. You had your, your Windows XP screensavers, your Windows XP theme where you had the rolling grass hills and the big blue skies. Very much so is what Frutiger Aero is. It's a very, very breath of fresh air, I guess you can call it. Um, but yes, that is definitely something that I think as time goes on, people start wanting to kind of revert back to nostalgia. And especially for a lot of the audience and a lot of the people that play VR chat, like unless they're much younger, that's what they grew up on. People I would want to say between 25 and 40 probably. And so, as we're, getting into the mid 2020s and everything like that, people kind of, are starting to go back to that. Even songs nowadays, you get songs that are, sampled from early 2000s songs. You have, there was this one song that I was just listening to the other day with Nicki Minaj in it, but the beat was that like dun 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 dun, and I was like, oh, like I recognize that instantly. I even have like a whole Spotify playlist that's just dedicated to remixes. That's just new songs, but they all are sampled from a bunch of old songs, and so. Yes, that's definitely a thing that's I've noticed is starting to come back is more of like, older types of themes, the older D&B, the old techno vibes and things like that. And yeah, that's shout out to Neo Destiny. Him and I are his club Transology and I are going to be doing a collab at the end of the month that is just that. It's old school trance and old school techno.
It's these moments, man. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say my age, but at the same time too, there's always a generational shift where the troublemakers of their time will shift over, and then there'll be someone younger than them that will be the ones that are causing the chaos, and then those guys are gonna be like, get off my lawn. But in this particular case, we actually had a conversation within our staff about nostalgia and the fact that, like, one of the things that we've been learning on the program is the fact that, again, we say it almost every show, the boom of 2022 was a really big thing. A lot of people coming in during 2022, especially because there were a lot of different videos and series and just focus on YouTube videos showcasing what we do in here and the cool things that we did. Obviously, the Oculus 2 and the Oculus 3 kind of sitting in between 2022, 2024 kind of a thing. And having them come in, we've been seeing that a lot of the DJs that perform from then on, it's not a matter that they don't care about nostalgia, but I also want to think that there should be room and time for how it used to look or what we had to go through to kind of deal with those types of things. And now you got this guy here talking about Frutiger Aero, and I'm sitting here like, don't play with my emotions, because again, I was a child of the early internet when it was first coming out. All of that, all the bubble themes and stuff. And I promise you, I have looked up YouTube videos all week about it, and I've been pickpocketing all these little things about how nostalgic it is. But then you have some people coming in here and they're just like, oh, that's so lame, but we're going to do it because it's fun and lame. And fun and lame. So that's kind of how I'm kind of focusing in on this. I'm just like, I'm not angry, because now that I feel like people are being like, they're either really enjoying that type of thing or that type of vibe that we used to have back in the day. But then I also feel like there's got to be a moment where they're just going to say psych, and then it's just like over, like I get to be happy for once in my own little thing.
Yeah, like where they're gonna like call it tacky and like 3 months from now,
be
like,
like,
oh, that's so like, what did they used to say, chuggy, where it's like
what?
like
What?
yeah,
Chuggy?
like chuggy was it
Chuggy?
it was like cringe and like ugly. I think it was like short form for cringe and ugly or something.
Oh boy.
Where they're gonna be like saying like that, right? Like 3 months from now, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's so tacky, like ugh, like. Because it's very unique and nostalgic. And
but
stuff
it kind of,
like
you can put it in the same kind of category as what we were saying about trying to figure out what's going to be the latest, greatest as far as venues are concerned. And everyone's already kind of have that high bar. And then before you know it, you're going to have some people that really love artwork and they really love that style. And there's going to be a whole mass of them coming in being like, well, you're wrong. We're going to do it like this. And then you're going to be screaming at yourself being like, no, that's super lame. What are you doing? But then it's going to take over. And then you're going to be a part of it. So it's not even a matter of me being like, man, I really wish it was back in the day. But it's also very fun for me to sit back, twiddle my fingers, and say, oh, that's how far back you want to go? Okay, that's great. But on top of that too, like I think you were saying something like you were worried that most worlds are going to start turning into that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of the worlds are going to turn into it per se. I do think at some point you're going to have people that will make specialized worlds for it. But yeah, I don't think people are going to be taking their existing clubs and turning them into, very, very specific, either a specific genre or a very specific look. Um, I think it'll advance as time goes on. Like they'll add new things and maybe change up the color scheme and things like that. But yeah, I don't think we have too much to worry about as to like, doing a dramatic renovation to a lot of clubs. You'll probably get more people that just kind of like come in. They're like, I like this idea. I'm gonna slap something together for this one event, and then if it gets used again, it gets used again. If it doesn't, then it RIP.
It's kind of it's a nice little thing to keep going back and forth on, especially because I think a lot of people have been seeing it too, that there have been a lot of events and specific events for throwbacks, and people want to be able to remember all that sort of stuff. I'll even say this too, in the past year and a half, it seems like disco is making a comeback. Disco, funk. It's exciting for all the wrong reasons. I think a lot of people want to remember what it's like, in the discotheque kind of era, and also be able to enjoy it without people being like, oh, you're a nerd for disco. Oh, go back to the 70s, go back to, whatever. But reintroducing that idea might be fresh and new compared to something that they've run into before. So again, it's not a matter that I don't want it to happen. It's a matter of, you need to be prepared that if it does happen, there's no complaining. I don't want to hear about it. If I see it on social media, good luck, man. Like, you can always go back into your hole and enjoy it, but enjoy what we have cooking right now into the future. Now, before we get on, we have about like 10 more minutes, give or take, of the program. Time flies, man. Having a good time on the show. One of the things that I kind of wanted to briefly talk a little bit about, and it's going to be kind of treading on thin ice when it comes to this sort of thing, is trying to find there seems to be more of an abundance of 8K textured avatars. And in this particular community, we do want to start looking into avatars with a better reflection on our personalities. I think a lot of people want to genuinely be themselves and kind of look similar to themselves in VRChat. And what's so fascinating about these 8K textured models is just that fact, is like, and not even to mention the new mouth tracking that some of these headsets had. Like, I've had guests sit on the show, and I've been kind of hypnotized just kind of looking at their mouth move like in real time, and I'm like, my reality is getting blown here. But one of the reasons why I'm kind of bringing this up, and we're going to lightly touch upon it, is there's a couple of reasons behind it. Number one, one of the things that Italian and I were talking about last week is poly count. Obviously, the textures help by aiding the fact that you don't need a lot of polygons on your avatar. But even in the case of avatar creation in general, some people may not know how to create avatars to be able to kind of alter it, modify it to be better quality and excellence rating in the world. And that's something that we're proactively trying to accomplish, is trying to get medium or better. Poor is okay, but medium and better would be even better. But at the same time, you want to represent yourself with all the chains and all the glitz and glamour and stuff. So that's part one of this type of an investigation of kind of like how I feel like a lot of us have been kind of seeing the 8K textures coming in, but also too, and I want your opinions on this too, especially because not only do you guys have some really awesome looking avatars, but I feel like you also may know a couple of other people that use the 8K textured avatars inappropriately, with either, massive boobs, massive butt, hips, whatever, or something, not really NSFW, but I also feel like there is a higher reflection on that on the internet. Like, if anybody's going to be talking about the DJ community, there will always be a video of someone with an 8K textured, with all of the, what I mean. I'm not going to sit here and paint I'm not going to go ahead and paint the picture for you, but I think you guys have a good understanding as well. So I kind of want to know what your opinions on that, on the kind of the new popularity of an 8K textured model, comparable to what we should be doing as a community to shine a better light for those people that genuinely want to wear these avatars, as opposed to what we've been seeing on the internet.
Mm.
So I guess I'll go first on this one. And I'm gonna look dead into the camera when I say this. When you get the avatar from an avatar creator, if they're not giving you the actual project and they're just giving you the asset or the prefab, you have to go in and downgrade your textures because by default they will be on 4096 and you need to turn that down. That is a big PSA to every single person that wants to watch this. But in total though, a lot of people they don't take into consideration of like, oh, my avatar is going to affect someone's performance, and so they'll add like everything that they possibly can to avatars. Like for example, like I was showing you on this avatar, for example, the creator of it put Nike shoes on it, Air Force Ones, I think, or
Oh,
something like that. Turns out I found out about this. Those shoes are they're exported from GTA 5. So they're super high poly count. They're like 200, 300,000 polygons. I don't use them anymore. I use boots on this Avi. It was just something else that came with it. But it's absolutely insane. Like I made an optimized version of this with the help of a couple of my friends, and I took this thing down. I think it's like 500,000 polys or something like that. To it's virtually a medium based Avi. The only difference is I think I have to like take one of the textures or remove one extra material or something like that. It's like something super simple. I just never got around to doing it. But like it's so easy to make an optimized avatar. It's just people need to put in the work to do it. And I'm not, I don't want to harp on any avatar creators, but they're definitely responsible for that as well. Especially like when it comes to making like like jewelry and things like that. Like you can make like it's the jewelry's super tiny. You don't need to have no one's going up to you with a microscope trying to figure out what how many edges how round is your chain. No, like you can make a square like a box chain and cut a hole in it like a donut, and that's a link. Like no one's gonna judge you for that. No one's gonna look otherwise. So it's definitely something that people need to be aware of, especially like going back to the texture things. Just turn down the textures. If you don't do anything, if you don't want to learn Blender, if you don't want to learn about decimation, just turn down your texture quality to the point where it's still legible. Maybe it's a slightly blurry. No one's gonna really notice. Headsets aren't like the best quality.
Would you also say the same thing goes for world creators too?
Oh, 100%. There's, and I hate calling out people. I'm not going to name names, but like for me, one of the biggest things that I pride myself on is optimization. All of my worlds are, well, most of my worlds are Quest compatible, and it's not a hard thing to do. Like and I take it a step further because I don't want to sacrifice the club experience for PC users just to allow Questies to join. So for me, what I'll do is I'll have two separate projects. I'll make the world as I want it. And then from there, I'll modify it to be Quest compatible to the point where things still look exactly the same. But like I might have to, like for the OG Club LA, that's like a 200 megabyte world or something like that, or 150 megabytes. I had to remove some pictures, like little cosmetic things, instead of having like 4 or 5 or even 6 textures on a material, I might only have 3 or 4. Like I'll delete things that like visually you're not going to notice the difference, especially as a questie, but you're going to go in there and be like, oh wow, like this is what a world can look like. It's not just all flat textures, no shading and no anything like that. Like you get people that will they will make an amazing PC world and it will never be allowed to be used for questies, or they will make a terrible looking PC world but questies can go to it. And for me, I am that happy medium where I want everyone to experience the best that they can, but still allow everyone in the community can enjoy it all the same, and no one's gonna see anything differently.
Yeah, I think I see a lot more of like the 8K texture people like in the dancer community and stuff. Like having like the latest greatest model is like really important for a lot of people, and like people are always looking for like new stuff. And like I think Italian was right when he said that a lot of avatar creators like just don't give a fuck. Excuse my language, but like they do not care when it comes to like optimization or anything. but I think my official stance on it is like there's a time and a place, you know? Like if you're hanging out in a private world or like a private event where, you know, there aren't restrictions, but like the majority of people are going to be in optimized avatars, it's like, oh yeah, okay. There that's totally fine. You know, I can understand it, but I think if you're going to be at like a club world or you're at a rave, I don't think there's a necessary like you do not need to be wearing on almost 1 million poly Avi. I say this cuz I have an Avi that's like came out like a month ago. It's like 900 it's like 960,000 K polys as the base model. That is so unnecessary if you're like in a semi-public lobby. I'm very anti that, but like if you're hanging out with a small group of friends, go crazy. You know, they're your friends, all that kind of stuff. But so my official stance is time and place. So I get it, but at the same time, it's not always necessary.
I feel like we're in a day and
I
age
100%
where like we're gonna be getting out of cabin fever momentarily. I think we still have like I think the first day of spring is March 20th. This is the last time I saw. And I think we're in a good time and place where people are gonna want to get out of their house and get out of their rut and maybe try to learn something new or give themselves a little bit more of a project going into the springtime. Why not? You know, this seems like the type of time and place to do that, and we've got plenty of content on YouTube where you could either create a world or you can create an avatar. We you know, we have places like Booth and what was the other one? Jibby or
Jinxie.
Jibby. I've only been there once. That's the only reason why I'm bringing it up. But like they got some really killer diller stuff. You know, they got some good avatars and stuff. But obviously too, you know, if you want to make it a reflection of yourself, don't be stupid, and you got to make sure you recognize the things that you need to do, especially in our community, because it may not be the case of you blocking everybody's avatars so you don't see everybody, but not everybody has the same computer specs as you may have. And it's not even just a matter of the headset wars anymore of just like, oh, you have a Quest, oh, you have a Oculus, oh, you have an Index or whatever. It's just even a matter of like, you know, you can still come in on a potato. You have to respect the potato. You know, you do. You got to give them a good experience too, and don't be an idiot. You know, don't be dumb, don't be rude, and just kind of enjoy our community like that. A couple more questions before we get on out of here. One of the things, you know, early 2025, brand new year. What do we got looking for Club LA? What's going to be coming down the pipeline soon?
So, a lot of good things actually. Hope you know, up in the future, especially towards the summertime, plan on getting a couple of festivals possibly going. But as far as, you know, what's planned so far, I have tomorrow. We host bi-weekly Fridays, which is every other Friday, and we're starting to become a little bit more on cue with them. So instead of being every other Friday, we're starting to, especially as we get more staffing and everything like that, we're more going into the every Friday. But for upcoming events though, tomorrow, this Friday, 11 Eastern PM, we're having our bi-weekly Friday. So we got a great crazy lineup with that. And then the week after, we are doing a collab with Gen VR and Cumbar. And then the week after, or no, sorry, not the week after that, 2 weeks after that, so the 28th, I believe it is, that is the night of trance and techno, old school trance and techno with Transology.
Seems like you got a lot going on, which is really exciting because, you know, the events really don't stop here, do they?
Oh, no.
They're constantly going on. I know before we usually send people on out of here, one of the couple of questions that I ask are, what are your top 3 favorite DJs that you can promote for other people to watch and experience in VRChat?
Ooh, for me, it would definitely be, I don't want to pick favorites. I would, yeah, see, it's so hard because you name people and they're like, oh, why didn't you call me? Honestly, there's so many good people in this game that can DJ, you included. But there's so many people that I could name. Medlish is one of them. Necromancer, you have Eulogy.
You can only pick 3.
I know.
Remember?
Yeah,
can only
you
pick
each
3.
get 3, so it's a total of 6. So there you go.
Okay. So then my top three that I would say definitely have people check out. Eulogy. You have Twilo and Matthew, which they're a duo. Um, and I would say if you haven't heard of him, Flexus. He definitely likes he's a long time DJ in IRL, but he definitely takes it up a notch in VR.
Yeah, I would say definitely one of my top three, Flexus. He could do like everything. You said that earlier, but like every time like anytime we've done like a theme event that, like Flexus is like if he's available that weekend, he's like up to bat and he's like he could do it and it's always awesome. And then my other second favorite DJ would be DJ Dragons. I actually found his mixes on YouTube first, and then I think his logo was like VRC, but it wasn't like that much. But like I reached out to him specifically and was like, "Hey, like if you ever want to DJ at CLA, let me know. I can hook you up." You know. But yeah, DJ Dragons, I just love his mixes. His style is great. And then a third person, I I don't really have like a third person. Propaganda. I love Prop. He's so nice, and
Mm.
always super good with techno and trance and stuff.
I hope you guys don't mind, but I'm going to kind of throw you under the bus for a newer
Oh.
segment that I kind of wanted to start fairly soon. But I wanted to say, give us your best word of advice.
Word of advice for club scene or like for world creators or
I would just say,
In
I would
general?
assume that because we're doing club stuff and we're talking about club stuff. Best word of advice for club stuff.
Don't be afraid to branch out and talk to people and get involved in other people's conversations as long as it's not a one-on-one conversation.
Oh, don't
People
be a
are
creeper.
yes, people are super friendly in this scene. Everyone wants to pretty much for the most part be friends with everyone, even if it's a simple like you don't even have to be drinking. I don't always drink in VR, and especially when during my own events I don't drink when I'm hosting. I might have at most a beer, otherwise I'm drinking water. So definitely come up to staff, say hi, say cheers. You don't have to be drinking, but just kind of like be like, hey, cheers, and then pretend to drink or drink a water or something like that, and no one's gonna know the difference. But yeah, definitely if you are someone who is more of an introvert, definitely try to branch out. It will change your life for the better, and you will meet a lot of good friends.
What's your best word
My
of advice? Yeah.
my best word of advice, protect your peace. Probably. I think the rave community is not exempt from drama and stuff. And my firm piece of advice is if you want to have a good time in any community, it's just like just don't do anything that you feel like you don't need to do. Like do not force yourself to be involved with things if you feel like bad about it, Just like back up, protect your peace, do what is in your best interest without being an asshole,
And you'll have a good
And
time
you
with it
will
too.
exactly like you will have a great time, you'll make a lot of great friends. But it's like if mind your business respectfully.
Perfect. That's the best way of doing it too. You don't have to be social. You could always just hang out and have a good time. Italian and Cccuro, where can we find Club LA on social media?
So the best place to get our socials, it's all in one spot. It's vrc.to/clubla. From there, you can either find our VR chat group, you can find our Instagram, Blue Sky, Discord links all in there. But pretty much we're clubla.vr on most sites.
It's awesome. And it just says our producer's putting it in the chat. That's super important. Yeah, you got to make sure you get the links there. Love it. So, guys, listen, we've only touched upon a whole gaggle of things that we were going to talk about today, but I can't wait to have Club LA come back on the show at some point in time, and I can't wait to see what else you got cooking and some of your events coming down the road.
Definitely was an absolute pleasure being here as well. And yeah, anytime, more than welcome to have us back.
Well, again, thank you guys for coming by. And for those people that are at home, that's going to be the end of our program today. But you know what? We got plenty more program going on for the rest of the month, with also our next guest being on kind of an afternoon show. We're going to be talking with the Bats Project, or Bats for short. People know of him in the way that he DJs and stuff. And we're going to get to know a lot about his VRChat tenure, as well as again, he's been making a lot of music recently, so we're going to be kind of seeing what else he's got cooking. After Bats, later on in March, we're going to be sitting down with Refuge and kind of see what they've got going on with all their different venues and all the different talents and things that they have. Tons of events with Refuge, and it's going to be really great to know a lot more about them as well. You can peep the entire listing for you up on X and on Blue Sky at VRCDJLIVE. For all of the replays, we're going to have our highlight for this show up on Friday, as well as the full show on Sunday up on YouTube at VRCDJLIVE. So for Italian Dogs, Cccuro from Club LA, for the team of VRCDJLIVE behind the booth, I'm Rob Roman, and thank you guys for coming by to VRCDJLIVE. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.